as luck would have it, we've got a man who can answer all of those charges. Richard Tice is here, Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Richard, I mean, I'm not sure your namesake, Richard Fuller, is entirely cognizant of the facts of the matter here. I don't think it's the Tories that are going to put Reform out of business. It's more likely to be the other way around, isn't it, as I said to him?
Well, look, competition's a good thing, and the Tories have had their chance. They had 14 years to turn the country around and make it grow again and great again, and they did the opposite. And so people won't forgive and they won't forget. That's why we're surging in the polls. That's why we are in almost every poll now ahead of the Tories, very often by more than the margin of error. And so we will just keep doing what we seem to be doing pretty well. And obviously we're looking forward to the results coming through on May the 2nd from all the various elections. And I think generally we've got a track record of calling it out better. For example, the figures this morning out, the government borrowing figures, I was the only person straight after the spring statement just 4 weeks ago today who bounced onto, I think I did 14 media interviews, and I said that the OBR's numbers were delusional on both growth and debt and borrowing. And here we are, 4 weeks later, I've been proven 100% correct. In fact, the figures are even worse than my worst nightmare. The government has borrowed some 14 billion, between 14 and 15 billion pounds more than the OBR forecast just 4 weeks ago for the year to March. In March alone, to put it in context, per household, the government has borrowed about £300 of your money per household. In 1 year per household, it's about £3,000 of extra debt that they've stuck on the mortgage that you may have on your house, or that they've borrowed on the value of your house, to spend it on higher pay rises for the public sector, for lower productivity, so spending on sending money overseas on foreign aid or things like giving away the Chagos Islands, and waste. Wherever you look, there is just vast amounts of waste. These borrowing numbers are catastrophic, and it shows not only that the OBR is incompetent, clueless, and woeful, but more significantly, that government spending is completely out of control, and we are heading towards a debt crisis in the United Kingdom during this parliamentary term. People need to wake up.
Well, the IMF, who are not always that reliable with their predictions either, have suggested that the growth in this country will drop to 1.1%, which is already another downgrade for Rachel Reeves, who's gone to Washington cap in hand to try and get something that she can bring back that will be good news for the economy. But there's nothing really on the horizon for that. And it seems that a lot of this money they are borrowing, they're actually using to pay off previous debt as well.
Well, it's all one huge, great just sink of incompetent, very often wasteful spending. I mean, whether it's the £100 million on a back shed or vast amounts of other absurd spending, or just caving into the unions at every turn. We know that this government will continue to waste our cash, and I'm desperately, desperately worried. I think that you've got the madness of all the sort of gender ideology that both main parties failed on, but also you've got this, we have a looming cash crisis. We cannot keep spending more than we're earning and think it's going to end well. You've had 3 downgrades now. The OBR halved their growth forecast. The IMF's now reduced their growth forecast. The Bank of England reduced it to about, I think, 0.7. We'll be lucky this 12 months, this calendar year, we'll be lucky if we get anything above 0, frankly. I'd be very surprised. The direction of travel is absolutely dire.
And, I mean, 2 things exercising my audience this morning, Richard. Obviously, the continuing hypocrisy of Labour over the trans rights issue. You know, Labour pretending that they were in favour of protecting women and single-sex spaces all along, when in fact they weren't. You know, Keir Starmer incapable of actually making a statement of his own. He has to put Bridget Phillipson in place to do it for him. But the other one is, on the front of the Times this morning, 100 of Special Forces veterans face being unjustly hounded because this government is going to remove the protection they had from fighting during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and they could all now be dragged through the courts in various different ways. Absolutely shambolic. And on St George's Day, to make this news available to the media is just astonishing.
It is astonishing, but I think we now know where this government's priorities lies. They're more concerned about advisory rulings from dodgy lawyers on international courts than they are in actually standing up and protecting and defending our brave veterans. It's basically as simple as that. And they're more in hock to absurd trans activists calling for people to be hung or killed than they are for our brave servicemen and women who've served this country. And yeah, it's truly shocking on any day of the week, frankly, but least of all on St. George's Day. And you sort of think, why are they picking fights at every level, whether it's with pensioners over the winter fuel allowance or whether it's with veterans over this the legacy troubles and things? It's just completely unnecessary. Just focus on growing the economy and making people better off, and then everything else broadly will sort itself out. People want small government. They want government to get out of the way so that people can get on and lead their lives. And we carry on down this path, what I call the Red Ed Miliband path of doom because of net stupid zero, then we're heading towards bankruptcy. It is as simple as that. We cannot continue on this absurd path towards impoverishment.
Well, you must be encouraged to see also on the front page of the Times that Mad Ed and his mad plan for doom and gloom has been given a bit of a setback this morning, because apparently GB Energy is going to face legislation that will force it to ensure that slavery and human trafficking are not taking place in its supply chain, which very much rules out most of the solar panel businesses that they were going to buy from in China.
Completely. And it's astonishing because I was in the debate in the chamber a few weeks back when this was raised, and they said, oh, well, it's more important to pursue our net zero goals. I mean, the reality is, I put some solar panels on roofs. That's the only place you should be putting them, not on productive agricultural farmland. And I had to work really hard to find solar panels that hadn't been built, hadn't been manufactured in China. I mean, there's a few, but essentially, they've cornered the whole market because guess what? They're producing these solar panels using cheap energy, cheap electricity from coal-fired power stations, as it is when they manufacture wind turbines using steel produced from blast furnaces using coal. I mean, the hypocrisy and absurdity of all of this is truly, truly breathtaking. So we end up with the highest energy and electricity prices in the developed world, which makes all of our industry completely uncompetitive. So, hey, presto, our steel, our automotive, our chemicals, and our oil and gas industries go down the Swanee, down the tubes. That's where everything is going, unless we change course.
Yeah, or off a cliff, as I prefer. But you're absolutely right. Richard, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Richard Tice, MP, Deputy Leader of Reform UK.